Hello everyone and welcome back to another Pony and Wolf Productions video. My name is Visual Pony and today we are reading a story by an author that we have featured on here many times before. The story is called And What If Pip Fell Down a Well by Overlord Flinks. Yes, the Overlord Flinks who actually wrote Know Your Mare and many other stories. Actually, this is another sequel to a story that we have read before. Apparently a sequel to the story Luna Makes Toast. Now here is a list of my lovely Patreon supporters who keep this channel alive and keep me eating. Now, let's get into the meat of the story, and don't forget that if the button under this video is still red, it means that you have not yet subscribed to Pony and Wolf Productions and are not being notified about our latest releases. If you want to be notified, click the subscribe button and the bell icon next to it, setting it to all notifications. Make friends. Making friends will always be perhaps one of the hardest tasks anyone sets off to do. No matter how young or old someone is, making friends never gets any easier. Everyone has likes and dislikes, which sooner or later causes heads to butt over who has to change their likes or dislikes to better suit the group. When that happens, friendships between those few is ruined. So most are afraid to make that first contact with someone. It's common nature to fear rejection or the possibility that down the road things won't work out. That's one root reason why making friends is never easy. However, those people have the wrong idea entirely. You shouldn't take the time to find friends for yourself. No, you don't know anything about yourself. Who are you to say what's best for you? If you pick your friends, you'll just end up with bad seeds or fair weather friends. It's up to your dearest and most trusted companion to sort through every possibility to find who is or isn't right to be your friend. That's why Pipsqueak is lucky to have such a dedicated friend like Princess Luna. Luna, I admire your well-meaning intentions. Celestia leaned down to whisper into her sister's ear while also looking at the extensive line of assorted fillies, colts, mares and stallions stretching for nearly a mile before Luna behind the desk. But this all seems unorthodox. Princess Luna, her horns magic gripping around a collective of papers, tapped the bundle against the face of her desk, looking as professional as she saw this job to be. Unorthodox measures are required for unorthodox circumstances, sister. Luna looked over the long line of ponies that responded to her want ad, listing Pipsqueak as needing a friend. My dearest comrade is in grievous neglect of a multitude of friends to play and jostle about with. And I shall be to Tartarus if I do not lend my aid to finding him friends. Once more Celestia looked over at the long line of waiting ponies and shook her head. As stressful as the sight was, Celestia still smiled and took her leave down the halls of the castle. Do as you wish, Luna. Just please don't destroy the castle. Left to herself and the willing applicants out before her, Luna looked down to the start of her list of possible friends for Pipsqueak. It was a long list with many hopeful appliers, but only the cream of the crop could be picked to be Pipsqueak's best friend. Luna was more determined for this task than any other she had faced before. With pride welling inside her for the task at hand, she spoke the first name. Now, Gilda, correct? If your transcript is to be believed, you are a practical joker enthusiast? Yeah, I like playing tricks on people if that's what it means. Indeed. That is well and good. But what should happen if Pipsqueak broke his leg tripping over one of your tricks? I guess love? Get out. Your papers check out very well. Dedicated, hard-working, and you work very well under pressuring situations. Overall, you seem like an ideal friend, little Strongheart. I am most pleased to hear that. Nevertheless, if we were to put all of that aside, tell me, how would you handle a case where Buffalo were to trample Pipsqueak? I would veer the stampede away from him and have them trample over anywhere else. Fair answer. Yet your immediate response should always be push Pipsqueak out of the way and have yourself trampled. But what would it matter if I safely prevented anyone from being hurt? The safety of everyone else pales in comparison to your friend, even more so when that friend is Pip. Discord, what are you doing in this line?
I thought it was a line for the bathroom.
There exists a multitude of bathrooms outside of the castle. Why not use one of those?
Oh, hogging all the good TP for yourself, huh? This is a dictatorship!
Move along. You talk a big game, you spout a plethora of recommendations, and you have a redeeming list of accomplishments. So I must inquire, why pound cake? Why? Your argument is compelling. I yield to that. We shall be in touch. It says here you have been fired once. I quit. Regardless, that does not look too favorably on you. I know, but I had to. Such is what all deserters say. Moving on. Your previous employer wrote that you were a blind-eyed wannabe? How would that benefit Pipsqueak? It wouldn't. But I have a lot of other things I can offer. I'm really great with kids, actually. You do understand this isn't a babysitting job, correct? Yes, I know. Really, I don't have many friends my own age. So I thought I'd start, well, small? You have a certain modesty about you. Very well, let me ask you this. What would you do if Pipsqueak broke his leg? Splint it back up on the spot with a medical kit. What if he was about to be trampled? Throw myself in the way. Under attack by a hydra? Cover myself in honey and have it attack me. What if Pip fell down a well? Break down the well and be sued by the town for breaking it to save him. When can you start, Coco?
Hello and welcome back to Comment Time with Visual Pony, where I remind you that you can support Pony Wolf Productions through the links down in the description below. Every dollar helps, is needed and very much appreciated, and helps to keep the lights on around here. And to buy me food. Actually, yes, I need food. Anyhow, let's get into the meat of the story. Okay, I do not quite see the connection here between Luna Makes Toast and this one. Because if I remember correctly, Luna Makes Toast was a story about Luna wanting to prove to Celestia that she can make herself breakfast and that, Celestia didn't have to prepare breakfast for her. This one is about Luna trying to find a friend for Pipsqueak. I kind of always found it weird that everyone was shipping the whole thing with Luna and Pipsqueak because, guys, Pipsqueak is a kid. And as friends, yes, okay, but still, Luna is several thousand years old. And Pipsqueak is how old? 6? 7? Maybe 10? I find that whole dynamic a little bit creepy. But yeah, anyhow, cute story and one of my favorite characters, Coco Pomel. So this story is automatically a 10 out of 10. Sincerely yours, Visual Pony, let me know what you think about this job interview that Luna holds here for being Pipsqueak's friend. And as always, I hope that this story finds you well in body and mind.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another Pony and Wolf Productions video. My name is Visual Pony and today we are reading the story Cookie Thieves by Galaxy Knight. Fairly certain we had that author on this channel before. So let's see what this is all about. As always, I have not previewed this story before, so I will actually discover it alongside you as per usual. And as always, I will remind you that if this big red button under this video is still red, that means you have not subscribed yet. And I would really ask you to do so because I know it's annoying that I say this every single time, but it helps us in the YouTube algorithm, and yeah, it actually really does. With that, I will leave you here, say sincerely yours Visual Pony, and get right into the meat of this story. What are you two doing?
This way, Twily,
Shining urged. He led his sister through the hall and into the kitchen. He looked back to see his sister quietly following. Twilight didn't usually speak. She was as quiet as night. So that gave Shining an advantage. Shining stopped at the curb and checked left and right to make sure no pony was there.
All clear,
he thought. He signaled to Twilight and they both went in the kitchen. The unicorns crept silently to the cupboards. They stopped once they were near the table below. Shining turned to his sister. I hope this works. Outwardly he said, Alright, Twily. Now all you have to do is climb on me and try to reach for that cupboard on the right. Inside them is what we need to get to complete our mission. You got that? Twilight nodded. Okay, she said with her usual quiet voice. Shining then turned to face a white wall before him. Your cue, sis, he said. Moving smoothly, Twilight climbed on his back and went up to his shoulders. Then she reached up with her little hoofs as far as she could go. It took her a moment, but eventually she hooked her hoofs around the handles. She pulled them open. Just like Shining thought, inside was their goal. Cookies! Quick, get it! Shining whispered impatiently. Twilight reached inside and carefully picked up the cookie jar and brought it to her. Got it! Shining grinned victoriously. Mission success! He shifted and let Twilight move off of him. As soon as she stood on the ground, Shining turned around. Cookie time, he said. Twilight smiled back. Shining soundlessly removed the lid and took out a chocolate chip cookie. We make a great team, don't we, Twily? They did cheers with their cookies and took a bite. Delicious! Shining mumbled around the cookie. Twilight nodded but didn't say anything as her cheeks were stuffed. She looked so cute. For a while, the siblings just gobbled up more cookies until they paused at a sound. Shining and Twilight went still. Their eyes were wide. From a distance, two familiar voices spoke. Where are those rascals? Velvet's voice rang out sternly. I think they're here, Nightlight responded. There was a pause. Shining began to panic. He turned to his wide-eyed sister. Twily, he whispered urgently. We need to hide, I think that... Aha! Velvet said victoriously. Shining's heart felt like it had jumped to his throat. He turned around to find his parents staring at him and Twilight. Velvet tapped a hoof on the ground. Now what have you two been up to? She demanded. Shining exchanged a glance with Twilight. He then swallowed nervously but didn't speak. Velvet gazed suspiciously at them before moving her gaze to the floor. Her eyes widened slightly when she spotted the cookie jar. Cookies! Nightlight, tell these two that they are grounded from eating cookies for 3 weeks, she said. Nightlight eyed his children. Shining, Twilight, you shouldn't, He paused when Shining lifted up his sister and brought her to Nightlight. Twilight then gave him her saddest, cutest, puppy-eyed face. Nightlight's eyes went wide as he started to sweat nervously. Oh no, he muttered. Beside him, Velvet gave her husband a deadpan face before smacking her face with a hoof. Really, Nightlight? Nightlight shook his head. Come on, I can't say no to that face, he protested. Velvet rolled her eyes before shooting Shining a stern look that stunned him. Shining, you know I'll only extend your grounding period for this. Shining's heart dropped as he lowered Twilight. Oh, come on, please, Mom, don't do that, he begged. Velvet then turned her hardened look to her husband. Poor Nightlight began to sweat again. What? He asked. Velvet shook her head at him. You're very helpful, she stated flatly. Nightlight scratched the back of his head. Velvet finally turned to Twilight. Twilight stared back innocently. You've got a weapon, Twilight, she admitted. And then Velvet snatched the cookie jar from her. But it doesn't work on me. Shining and Twilight hung their heads. Sorry, ma'am, they said in unison. Velvet regarded them. She thought for a minute. Fine, she said. But, as punishment you will clean up the mess in the living room. Got that? Her kids nodded. As Shining and Twilight moved, Shining noticed the aura on Twilight's horn. He glanced to the side to see a cookie floating just by her legs. Twilight? She froze when she heard Velvet. What is that?
May I see it? Twilight backed off towards the exit with a sheepish smile. Velvet narrowed her eyes. Oh, no you don't! She dove towards Twilight. Twilight's eyes went wide, and then, with a brilliant flash of her horn, she was gone. And so was the cookie she stole. Velvet scoffed. Right! Where did she go? She turned her head all around. Nightlight smirked. Look at that, hon. Our daughter knows so much magic. Aren't you just proud of her? He said with a dramatic flourish. Velvet shot him a scowl. Yes, I am, but sometimes she uses her magic as an advantage, which gets on my nerves sometimes. Nightlight rolled his eyes. Well, it's her magic, he stated matter-of-factly. To which he earned another scowl from his wife. That's wonderfully helpful, she snapped. Nightlight grinned. Velvet huffed and stepped towards Shining. Come on, Shining. Then she grinned. Let's catch your sister. Shining eyed Velvet. Mom, didn't she take a cookie with her? Velvet nodded. But that's not fair. How come she gets an extra? He froze at his mom's resulting glare. Shining, as a big sibling, are you supposed to set a good example or complain about her getting an extra cookie? Whose idea was it to steal cookies? Shining stared. He thought for a minute but couldn't come up with anything to rally that. Of course he couldn't. His mom knew him too well. But it's still not fair, he added stubbornly in his head. Then they headed out to go and find the little cookie thief. Hello and welcome back to Comment on the Visual Pony, where I remind you that you can support Pony and Wolf Productions through the links down in the description below. Every dollar helps is needed and very much appreciated, and it helps to keep the lights on around here, to, electricity and all that. Bills. Because without electricity I cannot run the computer, I cannot run the microphone, and I cannot record stories. Anyhow, let's get into the meat of the story, because I'm not the Micro Machines man and I don't want to advertise for Micro Machines, even though if they pay me, hey, I would totally be up for that. I need money. Anyhow, wow. What the hell? Admittingly, it's cute. So, Shining, being like, hey, why does she get an extra cookie and I don't? For a moment there, I was like, really, Shining? Seriously, dude? Back off. You're not doing yourself any favors right now. I know how it is with angry moms. So, he's actually pretty lucky when I consider my childhood, because in my personal childhood, if my mom had caught me stealing cookies, she would have put me through the ringer. Punching bag, first round knockout, Yeah, because we had this cupboard where all the sweets and snacks and all that were in, and we kids were not allowed to open it. And when my mom caught us doing that, it was slapping time. Yeah. I got slapped more than once for that. Hard. Anyhow, sincerely yours, Visual Pony, and I hope, as always, that this story finds you well in body and mind.
Hello everyone, my name is Visual Pony and welcome back to another Pony and Wolf Productions video. Today we are reading the story Passes Please by the Drider Pony. A story that I have also basically already recorded in my car, but the recording turned out like so I'm re-recording. However, as always, from now on, here's a list of my patrons on Patreon. The lovely people who actually help make these videos possible. And who actually feed me these days. That money actually feeds me. That's my monthly allowance for food. Not much, I can tell you. Yeah. Also, if this button under the video is still red, it means that you have not yet subscribed to Pony and Wolf Productions and will not be notified when we upload new videos. If you want to be notified of our new videos, then click that big red button and the little bell icon next to it and set it to all notifications. And now let's get into the meat of this story. No admittance without identification.
Can you believe it?
Twilight gushed as she practically floated down the corridor in a cloud of bliss.
My own wing in the Royal Candlelit Library!
I'd say it's overdue,
Spike added. Between everything you've done as a princess and all the new spells you've created, naming a library wing after you seems like the least they could do. You may have a point. She picked up her pace. Still, we'd better hurry. I want to go over my speech once more before the ceremony starts. The 5 times on the train weren't enough? You can never have too much preparation. They rounded a corner and came upon the employee entrance to the library. Unusually, there was a security pony blocking it. He was an Earth Pony stallion with a tan uniform and a face that looked like it'd been carved from a boulder. Badly.
No admittance.
He groused as they approached with a tone that sounded like he felt he'd said that phrase far too many times already.
Public entrance for the ceremony is out front.
Though she was glad to see someone take their job seriously, Twilight had no time to waste. Oh, I'm not a guest,
Show me a press pass then.
Her eyebrow twitched at the interruption. She didn't usually like to rely on her fame, but most ponies could at least recognize her on sight by now. But maybe he was tired, or perhaps her mane was unrecognizably messy. No, I don't think you understand. I'm Twilight Sparkle. She paused. No reaction. The princess? The one they're naming the wing for?
In that case...
Twilight sighed in relief.
Then I'm going to need to see a VIP pass.
Oh, she had one of those. It was right where it wasn't. I accidentally left it at home, she admitted, her cheeks tinged with crimson embarrassment. The guard was unmoved by her plight.
Then your entry is denied. No admittance without a pass.
Twilight? Spike tried to get her attention. Not now. There was no time for quibbling about passes. Twilight could practically hear the clock ticking down with every second she wasted here. She gave the guard her best princessly look of authority, just like she'd been practicing in the mirror. Sir, I appreciate that you're just trying to do your job, and I commend you for your devotion to your duty, but I need to get inside. I'm delivering the speech for the event, so please stand at...
Then I'll need to see a pass.
Oh, for crying out! Will a library card work?
She cried and practically threw it in his face. At this rate, there wasn't going to be time to rehearse. She'd have to walk in and deliver the speech right away. He glanced at it, then back at her, neither his tone nor expression shifting an inch.
Nice try, but I don't see any winks in this picture.
Twilight?
Spike tugged her mane insistently.
What?
She snapped, rounding on him.
Twilight.
He deadpanned.
You can teleport.
Twilight blinked, sighed, and then vanished in a flash of light. Neither Spike nor the stoic guard spoke for several minutes of excruciatingly awkward silence. Finally, Twilight returned triumphantly and waved another card on a lanyard in the guard's unflinching face.
There, see? I went all the way home and got it. Princess Twilight Sparkle, VIP.
The guard took the card and studied it carefully. He stared at it, unblinking for nearly a full minute as Twilight became ever more angsty and impatient. Just when she was about to check if time had truly frozen, he reached a decision.
Yes, everything seems to be in order.
He stepped aside and began to open the door.
Enjoy the...
At that moment, the Canterlot bell tower chimed 3 o'clock. In the same instant, with 3 motions perfectly synced to the chiming of the bell, the guard closed the door, latched it, and stepped back into place.
No admission after the event has started. No exceptions.
The ends of Twilight's mane began to curl and smoke as manic fire danced behind her eyes. This stallion. Doing his job or not, he had delayed her, ignored her, and purposefully stalled for time until the very last possible moment. This went beyond adherence to duty. This was a malicious compliance to the rules. He was making a mockery of the rules and of her, all for a brief moment of amusement. Steam began to billow from Twilight's ears as she got properly incensed. She was going to be writing such a letter to his superior officer after the ceremony was over. Actually, no. She was a princess now. In a way, she was his superior officer. which meant she could dole out retribution directly and without consequence. Oh, it was a fine day for righteous vengeance. She opened her mouth and Spike pulled her mane again, cutting her off pre-tirade.
What? Twilight, deep breath.
He gave her a hard look until she complied. When she finally did, he continued.
If you'd let me finish, you can teleport inside the library.
For the second time, Twilight stopped and blinked as her mind caught up. She shot the guard a devilish grin.
You'll be hearing from me later,
she promised and then vanished in a flash of light, taking Spike with her. Sticking true to his guns, the guard did not react, remaining as stoic and expressionless as the rock he was probably burst from. After a moment, his body collapsed and fell to pieces like a snapped necklace. The freed components quickly reassembled themselves into a lankier and far less equine form.
Well, that was amusing,
Discord chuckled as he screwed his horns back on.
I just hope I bought Luna enough time to switch the plaques. Especially now that Twilight's angry enough to not look too closely before reading.
He giggled madly to himself.
I can't wait to see Twilight's face when she sings her named wing as the library's new erotica section.
Hello and welcome back to Common Thomas Visual Pony, where I remind you that you can support PonyWolf Productions through the links down in the description below as they help to keep the lights on around here. Every dollar helps is needed and very much appreciated, and as I just said, they help to keep the lights on around here. Donations are really needed, seriously guys. With the way my health is going and everything. Yeah. Anywho. Oh my word. Discord, Luna, I think you might have just taken the title of Master Troller from Trollestia. Those two have just, oh my word, just imagine Twilight delivering a speech saying that she's honored that the library's new erotica section is named after her. Oh my word. Oh my god, I don't think she'd ever get over it. Seriously, I don't think she'd ever get over this. And she would raise a huge stink, you know? I personally can see her pulling a Karen move here and be like,
I want to see the manager!
You know? And in this case, it would be completely justified. Because why would you name the erotica section after Twilight Sparkle, the most milquetoast and romantically unskilled pony in the show? You know? I mean, at least as far as I know. Anyhow, sincerely yours, Visual Pony, let me know what you think about this and what you would do if the Canterlot Library's new erotica section was named after you. Sincerely yours, Visual Pony, and as always, I hope that this video finds you well in body and mind. And sometimes I have a feeling I should open an ASMR channel.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another Pony and Wolf Productions video. My name is Visual Pony and today we are reading the story Sounds of Lunacy by the Engineer Pony. Oh my word, here's another time where I show you a list of the lovely people who keep this channel alive, who with their monthly donations enable me to keep recording this stuff, edit it, and put it out for all of you to enjoy. If you want to support, there's a link down in the description to support the channel. Also, if that big button under the video is still red, that means that you have not yet subscribed to Pony and Wolf Productions and will not be notified about our latest releases. With that, now let's get into the story, and I know that I'm friggin' annoying. 1000 Quiet Years. Princess Celestia sat comfortably upon her throne, sipping tea and listening to the sounds of activity about her. Cliques of government officials milled about the throne room. If she concentrated hard enough, Celestia could discern their individual conversations. She had known the various ponies in her administration for their entire lives, and the characteristic inflections and tones of their voices cued her into who was speaking without the need for conscious thought on her part. Even the hoofsteps of ponies passing through the room could alert Celestia as to the identity of the pony, their current mood, and their probable destination.
Beyond the chatter of bureaucrats going to and fro in her presence, Celestia noted other sounds. She heard the thuds and crashes of attempted construction on one side of the palace towers. She caught the soft swish of air as Pegasi guards flew patrols and practiced maneuvers outside. She listened to the creaking of doors swung on old hinges, the rhythmic ticking of a stately grandfather clock, and an ever-present background hum that lay beneath everything. Celestia also heard the pop of her sister materializing beside her. "You know the guards feel nervous whenever one of us teleports," Celestia said. She did not bother to look over at Luna, but merely savored the smooth slurp of another gulp of tea. "They seem to worry that if we are out of their sights for an instant, something tragic will happen to us." Luna tossed her mane in a careless shrug. "Then perhaps the guards should question the usefulness of trying to protect immortal alicorns who possess powers they can scarcely comprehend. I cannot fathom why you did not dissolve the EUP hundreds of years ago." "Well, the soldiers were restless after centuries of peace, and there were only so many spots available in the Wonderbolts. I did not want to leave them with nothing to do." Luna snorted. "Surely there was some enemy they could have fought. In the years before my banishment, we seemed to encounter a new foe every other day." Celestia breathed in another sip of tea. "On the contrary, during the whole millennium you were on the moon, not one single villain tried to depose me, conquer Equestria, subjugate our little ponies, or plunge the land into a state of eternal mid-morning. It was really quite a boring time." "Please, sister," Luna said. "You cannot expect me to believe that as soon as I was gone, our steady stream of adversaries was abruptly cut off. Why, pray tell, would such a thing occur?" With a soft sigh, Celestia set down her tea. The cup emitted the faintest tap as it came to rest on its saucer. "I had hoped you would never ask me that, sister. The answer to that question is somewhat delicate." "Delicate?" echoed Luna. Her hoof rustled uneasily. "Why would it be delicate?" "You see," Celestia began, shifting uneasily on her throne. The cushions beneath her produced the peculiar swishing sound of fabrics rubbing against one another. "The reason we had so many enemies before you were banished, and none once you were gone, well, the reason is you, Luna." "Me?" Luna exclaimed with haughty incredulity. "Whatever do you mean?" "Think about it," Celestia replied. "Before your vacation on the moon, we fought a new foe every couple of years, and since your return, Twilight and her friends have encountered all of our old adversaries, as well as a couple of new ones. But during the intervening 1,000 years, Equestria was inexplicably at peace. The only variable that has changed was your absence." "And just how am I responsible for every monster that has ever threatened Equestria?" growled Luna. "Scholars debated the matter for centuries," Celestia said with conversational matter-of-factness. "Some theorized you had poisoned the dreams of our enemies as a prelude to your rebellion as Nightmare Moon. Others suggested evil creatures were naturally drawn to your darkness. Many experts simply gave up on trying to explain it and said it was lunacy." "Lunacy?" "Yes. The word originated as a technical term for your insanity as bringer of the eternal night. Then some scholars started applying it to the crazy schemes of our other enemies. They seem to think it was your influence that caused our adversaries to behave in such a manner." "So whenever I hear some pony use the word lunatic, they refer to a pony who has been driven insane by your diabolical machinations, though I admit that perhaps the technical definition is lost on many ponies in the present age." Celestia again levitated her tea to her mouth and drank a long slurp. Beside her, Luna noiselessly worked her jaw through all sorts of disbelieving contortions. Finally, Luna managed to recover her voice. "And do you believe this madness, sister?" "Of course not," Celestia said. "While I have long been aware of the corollary between your presence and the national threat level, I do not in the slightest believe you are to be held responsible for the connection." Luna let out a relieved breath. "Thank you, sister, for your support. And you have discovered the cause of this apparent link between me and our enemies?" "Yes, I have." Celestia paused to scratch an itch on her side before continuing. "It is your mane. My Main? Precisely. Celestia stretched her neck to the side, waiting to hear the satisfying crack of gas escaping her joints. Your mane constantly emits a magically enhanced high-pitched buzzing noise that tends to irritate other ponies. The more dark magic a pony possesses, the louder the hum sounds to her. What? Luna did not seem inclined to believe Celestia. Listen, sister, Celestia instructed. She held a hoof to her ear. Do you hear that continual humming in the background? Listen carefully. Luna dutifully fell quieter and listened intently to the noise around her. Her eyelids closed as she focused on separating the different sounds in the throne room and on isolating the steady background hum. A minute later, her eyes opened again and a frown formed on her face. That sound is coming from my mane? Luna asked hesitantly. Yes, affirmed Celestia. And it sounds louder to creatures that wield evil magic? Definitely. So every opponent we have ever fought, every adversary that has ever endangered the safety of our subjects, they have all attacked because they cannot stand the sound my mane makes? I'm afraid so, sister. In that case, Luna said, rising to her hoofs with a loud clatter, I must be off at once. To do what, dear sister? Celestia asked in surprise. To shave my mane off. Luna vanished with a distant pop.
You summoned me, princess? Asked the royal guard as he bowed before Celestia.
Yes, she said. I need you to do something for me.
Anything, princess,
he replied. I need you to go to Princess Luna's chambers and leave on her bed a copy of Princess Twilight's report on the Tree of Harmony, Celestia said. Make sure Luna will notice the report as soon as she returns.
The report detailing how the tree protected the nation for 1,000 years while slowly dying, and how recent instances of ponies wielding the elements drained the tree of its power and removed its protective spell from Equestria?
Yes, that is the one. Celestia absently tapped her hoof against the throne as she spoke. Her mind was preoccupied with the considerate deed she wanted to do for her sister. I think Princess Luna would be interested in learning what kept our nation safe during her absence. As the guard stood and turned to leave, something else occurred to Celestia. Oh, and the choir that I hired to stand in the hall and maintain a constant monotone hum? You can thank them for their work and tell them they can stop now.
Hello and welcome back to Comment Time with Visual Pony, where I will remind you that you can support Pony and Wolf Productions through the links down in the description below. Every dollar helps as needed and very much appreciated, and it helps to keep the lights on around here. And you want to keep the lights on around here, right? Because without the lights I cannot record, because it means I have no electricity. Anyhow, let's get into this. Oh my word, Celestia, you're a fucking troll. You are a frickin' troll. And this is not even funny. I mean, oh my god. Luna's dedication to go and shave off her mane, you know, to keep Equestria safe, and then it turns out it is all one of Celestia's pranks. Oh my word. If I was Luna, I would banish her to the sun. Maybe only for a day or a week, but I would banish her to the sun. Sincerely yours, Visual Pony, and I hope, as always, that this video finds you well in body and mind.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another Pony and Wolf Productions video. My name is Visual Pony and today we are reading the story T plus 769 Days by Monochromatic. I have a feeling that we have had this author on the channel before. I'm not entirely sure, but hey, I'm open for everything. I mean, everyone can be a great author, right? I just liked the premise of this story. As always, I have not previewed it, so I will discover it alongside you guys. Last thing before I start narrating it for you, please consider subscribing to the channel. I know it is annoying that I say this every time nowadays, but it really helps us out, really helps us in the algorithm, and it is a free way to support us. So let's get into the story. A conundrum. For most of her life, Rarity had dreamt of the day she'd finally be the determined age to receive her soulmate timer. It was also a rather nerve-wracking thing to think about. What if she was destined to meet her soulmate the same day she received the timer? That would be so little time to prepare. Ideally, the timer would let her know she had 1 or 2 months left. Something akin to T-minus 46 days or something of the sort. That was short enough that the wait wouldn't be unbearable, but long enough that she could work on her physique a bit and get everything ready so as to impress her beloved. Admittedly though, when she finally received it the day after her birthday, she hadn't expected her timer to be in the positive numbers. T plus 769? T plus? Plus? She stared at the counter on her foreleg, flabbergasted. What did that even mean? Had she already met them? Was that it? If that was it, then she was ruined. How in Celestia's name was she supposed to remember who she met 769 days ago? She met dozens of ponies a month because of her job, and she was now supposed to remember some ponies she met stars knows how long ago? That was impossible. Ridiculous. It wasn't as if she had Twilight's exceedingly impressive memory. Wait. Twilight, darling dearest, are you here? I'm sorry for coming over unannounced, but I need you. Rarity stepped into Golden Oak's library, more than a little distraught as she called out to her friend. I'm in the living room, Rarity! Twilight! She exclaimed, rushing over and indeed finding the unicorn sitting in the living room, as well as a particular pink pony. A chessboard was placed in between them. Oh, hello, Pinky dear. Hi, Rarity! Are you here to play chess with us? No, I'm afraid not. I actually have to ask Twilight something. Twilight perked up, always eager to help. Oh? What do you need to ask me? Is this about the dress you're making for Duke Gold Lining? Oh, no, I finished it yesterday after the party. You were right when you said the green fabric was softer, by the way. I'll have to show it to you later. Oh, good. Twilight replied, pleased. And, what did you want to ask then? Do you remember if I met some pony important 769 days ago? A second passed. Pinky frowned thoughtfully. 769 days ago? This was shortly followed by Twilight blurting out a simple, what? Do you remember if I met some pony important 769 days ago? No, I heard that, Rarity. Twilight replied. Why would I know that? I don't know, Twilight. Rarity whined. Because you're one of my dearest friends, and because you know everything. You know more about my life than I know about my life for some reason. Twilight arched an eyebrow playfully. For some reason? You mean that you come over for tea 5 times a week and we talk for hours? See? That's precisely my point. So I'd have told you who I met back then, and you would remember, and you would tell me now. So why aren't you telling me? Because I don't know! A great gasp filled the room, and both mares turned to look at Pinkie Pie. I know who you met that day! She exclaimed, standing up and bouncing in place. Rarity and Twilight blinked at her. You do? Uh-huh, and you guys should know too! We should? Yep! She moved over to Twilight and wrapped an arm around her. 'Cause that's when we all met Twilight and Spike, 2 years and 39 days ago! Twilight's eyes widened. You're right, that is the day we moved here. She turned to Rarity. Well, there you go. Why did you need to... Rarity? Rarity was completely petrified, a red tinge crawling up her cheeks as she stared at Twilight. Are you okay, Rarity? Pinkie asked. You read a lot? Are you positive that's the day they got here? She interrupted. Yep, she replied. I'm pretty sure. We also met Nightmare Moon and Princess Celestia, but that was the next morning, so it was 768 days ago, not 69. Well, the soulmate timers work differently for dragons, so he'd already gotten his, and she knew for a fact it was still counting down, not up. So, that meant... Ah, I see. Right, good, yes. She cleared her throat and then offered a charming smile. Well, thank you, dear. I'll be off now. To go and resync her entire relationship with Twilight Sparkle, but they didn't have to know that, of course. Soulmates could be platonic, right? Maybe that's what they were. If Rarity was even remotely interested in Twilight in any other fashion than platonic, she would have already known, right? She practically lived at Twilight's house after all, considering they understood each other so well, and she liked spending time with... oh dear.
But wait, Rarity,
Twilight blurted out.
I don't understand. Why did you need to know who you met that day? What's going on? Nothing, darling,
Rarity replied, her light blush increasing as she quickly turned around.
Really? Don't worry about it. You'll find out eventually.
She stopped and turned back.
Wait, what are you doing Saturday evening? Are you free?
Twilight blinked.
Yes, I think. Why? What's going on, Rarity? Nothing,
she said quickly before clearing her throat and inspecting her hoof.
I just think we should go get dinner together. Catch up and all that. Talk about important things and about each other.
Twilight's frown deepened.
Okay.
Pinky giggled.
Gosh, Rarity, that sounds almost like a date. It's not a date.
Rarity immediately gasped, and then quickly added,
Or, it could be. I don't know, it could be whatever we want it to be. Or Twilight wants it to be. Regardless, I should be off. Goodbye, see you Saturday.
Twilight watched, completely and utterly perplexed, as Rarity sped out of the room without so much as letting her say anything.
Right,
she said after a minute.
I guess that just happened.
It did.
It sure did. Anyway,
Twilight turned back to her friend, clearing her throat.
Should we, continue our game?
We sure should. Oh no.
Pinky jumped up and looked towards the door aghast.
I forgot to ask her.
Ask her? Ask her what?
Twilight asked, alarmed.
About her soulmate timer, silly. Yesterday was her birthday, so she should have gotten it today.
Deflated, she sat back down, pouting.
No, I don't know how many times she has left on her timer until the next time I see her.
With a great sigh, she sadly moved a pawn forward on the board and waited. And waited. And waited. Until half a minute had passed and Twilight hadn't done anything.
You're done to it. Twilight?
To her great confusion, Twilight Sparkle was still staring at the door, eyes completely wide and cheeks bright red.
No, you're red all over too. What is going...
She cut herself off.
Oh.
She looked down at the board.
I guess we're done playing for today.
Hello and welcome back to Common Time as Visual Pony, where I remind you that you can support Pony Wolf Productions through the links down in the description below. Every dollar helps, is needed and very much appreciated, and helps to keep the lights on around here, and I need those lights because the lights indicate that I have electricity, and without electricity the computer doesn't run, and without the computer the microphone doesn't work, and it's completely useless. Okay, now let's get into the story, because I don't want to advertise for micro machines, because I'm not the micro machines man. And for many of you, because you are too young, but this reference will not even mean anything. I realized that the other day when I was actually editing one of those things, and realized, hey, lots of my viewers will not be old enough to actually remember the Micro Machines Man. So Google it. Google the Micro Machines Man. He was actually pretty awesome. Anyhow, let's get into the meat of the story because I can't go on like this. So I kinda guessed that this was a Twilight Rarity story the moment the timer came up and all that. But Twilight's reaction at the end is kinda priceless. But also Rarity being like, hey, a soulmate can be platonic, right? Right? No, it's very unlikely that your soulmate is platonic, Rarity. You usually, if you actually find your soulmate, you end up slapping flanks. Anyhow, sincerely yours, Visual Pony, and I hope that you enjoyed this story, because I certainly did. And as always, I hope that this story finds you well in body and mind.